Wilson Edward Jackson, 37, originally from Woodland Hills, California, and he was finally nabbed by men and women of Los Angeles Police Department in 2019 after being trailed for several years following various reports and complaints from victims of the several charges leveled against him. The young man had evaded arrest for several years by spinning names, laying underground, and more so, relying on the anxiety of his victims to not report the incidents of felony and fraud perpetrated against them. He met his end in LA after years of careful evasion. He was nabbed in possession of a vehicle from a car rental company, which was located in LA. Background in the early days. Wilson Edward Jackson, also known as The Truth, was born in Daytona Beach, Florida, to disciplined and religious parents in the year 1985. After his high school at an undisclosed citadel of learning, young Wilson left Florida to receive formal education in Kansas and at Dodge Community College. In 2022, Wilson Jackson told friends that he was going to attend the University of Florida, and he informed girlfriends that he wanted to be a rapper. However, midway into his college education and in the year 2022, he had a change of heart, and he decided to become a football player instead. Police report that his circle of influence and activity spans over 8 states in the United States, including Texas, Arizona, California, Kansas, Florida, and Nevada. His street style. Mr. Jackson, not to be confused with popular Michael Jackson, romantically exploited and wrecked people under different aliases. One of his victims had described him as a living Google that had acquired empathy, traits, and emotions of a Romeo. This is due to his ability to know almost everything about the state his victim lived in, despite never having been there. He would always vanish out of existence after swindling a lover of her properties, whether in cash or in kind. Major testimonials. His targets, who would later turn out to be his victims, are often made up of high-income females or women in professional fields. They are in the armed forces, judiciary, and the medical field. One 37-year-old Acacia Odenote from Arizona had the most consistent out of all testimonials presented against Mr. Jackson to the investigating police. Her experience with Mr. Jackson was what started on a usual day. It was, "What's up, beautiful?" But it was usual in her personality to snub such messages from random men. Was it his smile, or his swagger, or the confidence in his pictures? Odenote knew it was either or all of these three that prompted her to reply to his message, and she said hello, a felicitation that would end up reported as a testimonial in a police statement. Subsequently, in the weeks that followed, the communication between Odenote and Mr. Jackson intensified and spread out across text messages, FaceTime, and audio phone calls. They also had mutual interests in football, and he was a great listener to all of her heyday Air Force stories. Fast forward to the Christmas of 2017, after a trusted friend disappointed Odenote, Jackson intervened and offered to cheer her world up. He asked her to fly in from Scottsdale to Los Angeles, California, where he was. It seemed like a crazy outing. So after several FaceTimes, Odenote bought the idea. After she accepted, Jackson sent her a screenshot of the boarding pass he had booked for her online. But upon arrival at the airport at the end of that week, airport officers informed her that the ticket wasn't authentic. She reached out for her phone to call her host, who assured her the ticket was authentic. The flight was almost fully boarded as the departure time drew slowly closer. In the end, Mr. Jackson was able to convince her to book the ticket herself, reassuring her in the process that he would give her back the money upon getting to LA. So he sent her a selfie of himself at the bank where he said the issue was getting resolved. Miss Odenote arrived in LA later that night. Romantic Mr. Jackson was there to receive her, and they went out together to see films at a cinema. He attended to her through the night like a perfect host, asking about her career, dreams not yet achieved, and future aspirations. They'd sit out together on the car bonnet and stare into the sky for conversations. He would tell her how much he'd like to settle down with a kid, a wife, and a family, and in the end, they retired to his place. On Saturday morning, Odenote was still in bed, ate breakfast all prepared by Jackson himself, which consisted of bacon, eggs, and grits, and then, afterward, he drove her in his car back to the airport. On Monday morning, and in the usual work frenzy atmosphere and routine, Odenote logged into her checking account to financially plan for her day, only to find over $3,000 missing from her account. She checked for bank alert messages, but she couldn't find one. In her mind, either she's yet to receive any or they'd been deleted by the robber. More than that, there was also a $2,500 online mail debit alert over the weekend to an unknown account. as well as a fast food restaurant charge, a flight ticket booked from a Dallas airport to an LA airport. She could only guess one person. And your guess is the same as here, as the charges kept coming from LA, and Jackson was the only man she had seen in LA in recent time, in the last few years. Her credit cards were in the place, however, so she tried dialing him on call and online, but she had been blocked on all platforms. So she instantly blocked her credit cards and dialed the police in Scottsdale, who referred her to the LAPD. On reporting to LAPD, they requested her to return her report instead to the police in Scottsdale. Having fed up, Odono took the responsibility for the investigations. In an unrelenting move to get her money back, she utilized the Google server to obtain the building address and contacts of Mr. Jackson's residential address. But on quizzing about the young man, she was disappointed to learn no person of such name resides there, the same house she had slept in LA over the weekend. Odono had her female friends join her in the search frenzy. So, they went on to their social media and they searched Jackson's name. Odono confirmed his pictures to be him, so they downloaded the pictures and they did a reverse Google search on them. It revealed several different names, one of which was significant, and it was Sincere Jackson. On further search about that name, they found a detailed police announcement on West Orlando newspaper which wanted the man in the familiar picture but named Sincere Jackson. He was accused of carrying out on different single women all that had happened to Odono. However, this article was dated 2011. So, in essence, he'd been doing this and had been wanted for over a decade. Odono engaged in more online searches. She found over a dozen other victims of Jackson through Facebook networking. As she posted his pictures and various aliases on different group chats, they would all converge to have a unique group chat of their own. Dig up more results on Jackson to find his next catch through leads of his online purchases, and to warn them about who they're messing with. Sometime again early in 2018, Odono dialed LAPD to file a complaint once again. A 55-year-old Stephanie Kreitzer, who was approaching retirement, received the call and the complaint, but she apologized and said she had an uncountable list of files to attend to. However, she did take note of the name and report and promised to do something about it. Jackson managed to evade arrest by skating over the several overworked police staff as well as scared women's victims who were too afraid to report their cases. Detective Stephanie managed only to put the case on Facebook, encouraging other victims with important information to report to her. In 2019, Jackson, operating under the name Will, encouraged Ana Martinez from San Jose to come see him in LA. When he came to see her at the airport, he informed her a credit card difficulty prevented them from getting a car rental for their drive, so she offered to pay for their rental services. After that, they had dinner at a restaurant. They both retired to Jackson's LA apartment for rest, and at this point, she dozed off. At dawn, after an unusual rush, Jackson got into the rental car and drove off without giving his destination. Upset, Martinez got an Uber ride and left for the airport to go back home. Back in San Jose, she called the rental company but found out Jackson never took the car back. A few hours later, she received alerts describing the purchase of gift cards and movie tickets together with a Netflix charge which trailed to his authentic name. And with that, Anna Googled the name to see what Odono had also seen. Reports of scams all over the internet. Martinez afterward uploaded a warning on Facebook to warn other women out there. And less than 14 days later, a lady from Vegas replied on the post that Jackson had just reaped her of her credit card monies after she paid him a visit at his LA residence. And that she had Google searched his name for trails, and it led to that post. According to her, she'd also seen exactly the rental car which Anna described to her, at Jackson's residence parked outside. Together, like the two wounded lionesses they were, they reported to the LAPD. The detective was glad to receive them and assured them his highest cooperation. The ladies consistently turned up at LAPD for any new developments on the suspect. And on one fateful Thursday, they had the news of their life. LAPD had retrieved the car, and Jackson was arrested and in custody. Between 2002 to 2015, Jackson piled up over 75 charges in 3 different counties. About 12 of these charges were felonies. What a guy! Thanks for watching this video. Do give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to get notified when we post new videos.